Hey there. So we're diving into something today that seems like it's everywhere you turn these days.
Hmm.
AI. But specifically, what's it all mean for real estate? And, especially for the way we figure out what a property is actually worth. You guys have sent over some really fascinating stuff about this, so let's unpack it all.
Yeah, no doubt it's a hot topic, and it feels like everyone's got an opinion on AI these days.
For sure. And I get it, right? This whole AI thing, it can feel like it's going to turn everything on its head, real estate included.
Mm.
And when you think about it, I mean, so much goes into figuring out what a property is actually worth, right?
Hmm.
There's a ton of data there. And you know what they say? With great power, right, comes great responsibility. And maybe a little healthy skepticism never hurts either. So, okay, let's just address the big question everyone's wondering. Is AI about to put all the appraisers out of a job?
I think that's on everyone's mind, right? It's easy to see why people might be worried.
Yeah.
But honestly, thinking about AI as this, like, job-stealing robot, that's not really the whole picture, at least, not yet anyway. It's more like AI is like this really powerful tool appraisers can use.
Okay, I like that. So instead of AI versus appraisers, it's more like, what, AI and appraisers teaming up? Like a dynamic duo.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Think about it. AI can analyze tons of market data crazy fast, way faster than any person could. And it can even, like, I don't know, spot things in a property's history that could be a red flag, things that could take, a human hours to find.
Yeah.
And that just frees up appraisers to focus on the things that actually need a human touch. Like really understanding, like, I don't know, the little details about a specific neighborhood or a property, things that might not show up in the data.
So it's less about replacing the appraiser and more about, like you said, giving them the right tools to do an even better job.
Exactly. Like, let's say you're trying to figure out what a house is worth, and it's in a neighborhood where, there are some big changes coming. Maybe they're building a new school or something, or a big company's moving in. And at AI, it might totally miss how those things could impact the value of properties around there.
Yeah, yeah.
But a local appraiser, they'd know that stuff, be able to connect the dots and come up with a much more accurate number.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's like the AI can kind of give you the big picture, but you really need a human expert to, zoom in on the details. But let's talk about the data itself for a minute. One of the things you always hear about with AI is how it's supposed to be perfectly accurate. Like if we can just get all the information into a computer, boom, out pops the right answer every single time. Is that really how it works?
Well, you would think so, right? I mean, it's really tempting to think that AI solves all the problems with accuracy, but it's really important to remember that AI is only as good as the information it gets.
Right.
If the information going in is like biased or incomplete or just plain wrong, the analysis coming out is going to be messed up too. It's like that old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Oh, tell me about it. I once spent like a whole week trying to figure out why my budget was off by hundreds of dollars. Turned out I had just mistyped something in a spreadsheet cell. Talk about garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
But with real estate, those kinds of mistakes, those could have huge consequences.
Oh, for sure. Imagine if you had an AI model that was using old real estate data and didn't know about a recent change, like, say, interest rates going way up. The AI wouldn't have a clue how that would impact property values. It would be like trying to use a map from the 80s to get somewhere today. You might eventually figure it out, but it's not going to be pretty.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid those kinds of AI miscalculations?
Well, that's where human expertise comes in again. A good appraiser, they can spot those inconsistencies. They can tell when the AI might be using bad information and make adjustments.
Yeah, it's kind of like AI can give you a rough draft, but you need a human to come in and make sure it's actually ready for prime time.
Exactly. And that actually brings up another point I think some people might be hesitant about when it comes to AI, the whole tech side of things.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can see that. It can feel kind of intimidating if you're not, a tech whiz.
Totally. AI can seem pretty complex if you're not a coder or whatever.
Exactly. You hear AI and you start picturing, like, needing to learn a whole new language just to use it. Do you need a degree in computer science to even open up one of these AI real estate tools?
No, not at all. That's
Did-
definitely another myth we can bust right now. The tech behind it can get complicated, but the way appraisers actually use it is getting easier all the time.
Okay, good to know.
Think about it. You don't need to know how to build a smartphone to use one right.
True. I could barely keep my apps organized, let alone build one.
Right. It's the same idea with AI in real estate. A lot of the tools these days are designed specifically for appraisers. They have Really easy to use interfaces, dashboards, things like that, that make it simple to understand the information.
So you're saying you don't need to be like computer whiz to actually start using AI in your work?
Nope. Honestly, you're probably already using AI in some ways without even realizing it.
Really? Like what? Give me an example.
Think about those automatic email replies you get sometimes. Or like when you're shopping online and you see those recommendations.
Right.
That's all AI working behind the scenes.
Huh. I never thought of it that way. But let's bring it back to real estate. What are some examples of how this user-friendly AI is being used in appraisals like right now?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the most common and powerful tools is something called an automated valuation model. We call them AVMs for short.
Okay, AVMs. I've heard that before.
Mhm.
But for those of us who haven't, what exactly is an AVM?
Okay, so imagine this. You're an appraiser and you need to figure out what a property is worth. An AVM can analyze tons of data for you, like recent sales in the area, market trends, even details about the property itself, and it can do it so much faster than a person could and give you a starting point for your valuation.
So it's like having a super efficient assistant who can go through all that data and give you a place to start.
Exactly. AVMs basically streamline that initial part of the appraisal, so appraisers can spend more time on the stuff that requires their expertise, actually inspecting the property, thinking about its unique features, using their own judgment to fine-tune things.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. But you know me, I always like to push the limits here. Is there a limit to what kind of property AI can handle? Could you just put any property into these systems, a studio apartment or a huge historic mansion, and expect to get accurate results?
That's a great question. And it gets to the heart of where AI really shines in real estate and where it needs a little more work. AI is really good at dealing with what we call standardized properties, things like condos or suburban houses, where there's tons of data available and the valuations are usually more predictable.
So the more data you have, the better the AI works. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. But when you get into unique properties or super high-end places like that historic mansion you mentioned, things get a little trickier. Those properties often have qualities that are harder to quantify, you know?
Yeah, like you can't really put a price tag on historical significance or the quality of craftsmanship from a different era.
Exactly. And an AI might struggle to accurately figure out how much those things are worth because they don't fit neatly into a data set. That's where a human appraiser can really add value. They can factor in those intangible things, the historical context, unique architectural details, the overall feeling you get from a property to come up with a valuation that makes sense.
Well, it's not like AI is going to be replacing human judgment anytime soon, but it sounds like it's going to be a bigger and bigger part of how we figure out what properties are worth, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And like we were saying, it's not about replacing appraisers. It's about giving them better tools to do their jobs. And that's what's so cool about it.
Totally. It's like we're entering this whole new world of real estate appraisal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where technology and human expertise are working together. But okay, that makes me wonder, how do appraisers make sure they're staying ahead of the curve with all this? There's so much hype around AI. How do you know what's actually going to be a game changer and what's just like a fad?
I think that's a question everyone's asking. And honestly, it comes down to staying curious, never stop learning.
Yeah.
There's so much out there, like online courses or industry events that can help appraisers really understand AI and how to use it.
So you got to be proactive, go out and find the information,
Yeah,
and not be afraid to try new things.
exactly. And the thing is, AI is always changing. What's brand new today might be old news tomorrow. You got to stay informed, keep up with the trends, and be open to trying new approaches.
It sounds like a really interesting time to be in real estate, especially if you're someone who's ready to adapt and use these new technologies.
For sure. It's a super interesting time to be at the intersection of real estate and technology.
Definitely. Well, hey, we've covered a ton of ground today. We talked about some of the myths about AI, the potential it has to totally change real estate appraisal, and we even got a little glimpse into the future of the industry.
Yeah, hopefully we've given everyone a lot to think about.
Speaking of things to think about, I'm curious about something as we wrap up this deep dive. So as AI gets more and more advanced, being able to analyze data and figure out trends and all that, how do we make sure it's being used responsibly and ethically? Seems like an important question as we move into this whole new frontier of AI in real estate.
Absolutely. That's a great point. It's something we need to consider very carefully moving forward.
Definitely. And with that, that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and real estate appraisals. Until next time, keep those brains engaged, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive into another fascinating topic.